How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Shudder Magazine number 10 for June of 2023. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with the magazine, Shudder Magazine, as well as its sister magazine, Vampiress Carmilla, are black and white, classically styled anthology horror stories, and they always work out pretty fun. Classic monsters and characters, got a real retro vibe there, but they always do try to provide a good twist or crazy ending to their stories, and they always try to reinvent just a little bit. This one, as you can see from the cover, we'll be doing a little bit of genre hopping. We get a caveman story with a T-Rex and everything, but we also are going to get a space story. That's pretty cool. Vampires and mummies will show up. Good to see the classic monsters. But this one thing that I really did like in it, we get a story with a legally distinct version of Abbott and Costello. They're going to be the ones meeting the mummy this time around. That's always really fun, not just the universal monsters, but we'll also get a legally distinct Abbott and Costello showing up and being wacky. That's always pretty cool, and that is a fun pull for us old Universal fans. Really did like this one. I've said it before, the Creeps, Shudder, Vampiress Carmilla, they've always been incredibly consistent, and I've loved every single issue. That being said, if you guys want to see more, I'm going to switch to the close-up camera, and you guys can see a little bit of the stories, a little bit of the art. I won't talk about the endings, no major spoilers. I just want to go through and do little mini reviews. So without further ado, let's switch over to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle taking a closer look at Shudder Magazine number 10. This is from June 2023. And we feature a nice purple logo this time around. I do love how the color changes this time to match this gloomy sky. And we bring it close to the camera. We can see this is another color by a cover by Francetta here. And this depicts some early people fighting a giant T-Rex. Always cool to see an action scene, the anticipation before the battle, and these two characters, they did come up with a story for them for the Valley of Cold-Blooded Death, and we get to see them as they appear here with her having the dagger and him having this little hammer thing, and we do get to see them actually fight the T-Rex, which is pretty cool. And I guess I should address it. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be wisp of her hair or if that is side breast. If it is side, I will say it's just the side so YouTube don't get mad at me. YouTube flips out irregularly, which is why there is more breast in this magazine, and I did have to censor them with little green post-it notes because YouTube flips out on a very inconsistent basis, and I work hard for my videos. I don't want to get in trouble, and I guess that carries us into Aunt Fearsome's Fables, where this time she's going to be talking about Jumbies, Caribbean folklore, an evil spirit, and it sounds like you and a partner do a dance, the spirit will possess one of you, and then after it possesses you, you get to control it, it sounds like? And it talks about how one of these spirits is the wife of a slaver who, after she tried to help slaves get free, she was killed, but her spirit comes back to wreak havoc on the people that killed her. And I really do like the panel down here with this guy. The telltale sign that someone is one of these spirits is their feet are backwards, and to keep them out of your house overnight, because they can only come out at night, you can do things like place large objects for them to count, or have a rope with a bunch of knots that they have to untie, or put shoes on your front porch that they'll try to put on their backwards feet, but of course they can't. It's an interesting idea. I would love to read more about them. But anyway, after that we get the table of contents page, and we get the credits, and then we get Dear Aunt Shudder, Night Pool, The Valley of Cold-Blooded Death, Home Sweet Home, The Mummy's Scrolls, Window Chopping, and Alien Invaders. And we'll get some preview images to show us what some of these stories might look like. And I really do like this preview image. Let's just say it's in a different context than you might think. After that, we do get the letters page. Always cool to see what people write in and what they say, and people's reaction to the Devil's After School program in issue 8. And the cool look at the cover there. Anyway, after the letters page, I'll be getting into the stories proper, and I will take some time to analyze and review each one, show you guys a little bit of the story and a little bit of the art. But don't worry, I won't go anywhere close to those twists, and I'll do my best not to spoil them. But anyway, let's take a little look at each of the stories in here. Flipping it open, the first story is called Night Pool, and this was written by Lou Mogan. If you guys don't know, quite sadly, he passed away recently. He left a few comments on here, and from my interactions, he seemed like a really nice guy. Sad to see him go, but he was a pretty prolific writer, and it sounds like we'll get some stories published from him after he died, just because he left, I think they said, like a dozen stories, so it'll be cool to see more of them, but we will eventually run out, which is pretty sad. Anyway, Night Pool, we get this family who decides to go swimming at this free pool they stumbled upon, even though it's the nighttime, and after they go swimming, they're set upon by a group of vampires. Turns out the whole thing was a trap, and the vampires that open the pool are turning it into a business. You see, they're selling the feeding opportunity to other vampires and making a ton of money. Is it just me, or did this first victim here, does he look like Chris Pine? I just kind of wonder. Anyway, we do get a few scenes where, like, you know, one guy tries to question the boss, but of course you can't do that. But of course, there will be a wrench thrown in their program when one of the kids stays behind in the car to read a comic book. Yeah, that comic book's gonna save your life, kid, but what are you going to do about the vampires? And I do like the fun twist at the ending. There is something really clever to get out of this situation. I thought it was a pretty fun story. After that, we get The Valley of Cold-Blooded Death. This is the one from the title, and we get to see some cavemen fighting off this mammoth, and here are the two from the front cover. He's got his axe, and she has her knife there. They kill the mammoth, but the only problem is this is the last mammoth in the local herd, and looks like they're running out of food. Being low on options, they've heard that there might be something if they go through this cave. So the two from the cover go through the cave and find a special ecological zone where the dinosaurs have yet to die out. And they see that this could potentially be a new but dangerous source of food. And I don't want to go any farther in the comic than that, but I will say, remember the cover image. They are going to have to deal with this guy. I really do like seeing just paintings without inherent stories behind them get expanded upon and add a new layer of depth to. And plus, I'd imagine it'd be a fun writing challenge, you know? How can I take these characters and put them in the situation depicted? It's pretty cool, and it matches the cover. That's always great. So yeah, definitely did like that story. Anyway, after that, we have the story Home Sweet Home. And we hear this guy is going to see his sister and the sister's husband because they had to move into a small country house after he had a mental breakdown. However, they're always complaining about the piano room being cold. and we find out that there was a murder in this town by a piano, and we actually see old Aunt Shudder is going to say that this is one of her, what did they call them? Decrepit classics. This was 1928, written by E.F. Benson. Always glad they're keeping the classics in there. Anyway, the brother will start to hear ghostly things happening from their piano room. The keys start to move by themselves, and he will go and ask about that murder and start to uncover a bit of a mystery. A good classic ghost story, and plus it's a haunted piano, which I think there actually is quite a few haunted pianos now that I think about it, even though it's not a super popular subgenre. But that is it's a pretty fun classic ghost story, and then he'll hear singing to go with the piano playing, and yeah, there's definitely something going on with this room. And when we get to the reveal, I do like how it connects with something we saw earlier. It's a fun classic story. Anyway, after that, we find out the Mummy's Scrolls, and this is another Lou Mogan one, and it turns out that they recently uncovered a new mummy that they're sending to a museum, and we get these two that are a legally distinct version of Abbott and Costello, and their boss is going to pay them to grab the mummy's scrolls and change them out with fake ones. So here they are, about to open up the case. They find the scrolls, but the mummy also wakes up, and I do like it's the mummy reminiscent of the first Universal Mummy. When Abbott and Costello finally met the mummy, production value had gone down a little bit, and it didn't look as cool as the first one. But Abbott and Costello are going to have to figure out how to fight it and get the scrolls. Let's try this taser, or maybe we'll light him on fire. But of course, the mummy is going to show them what for, and it's just a fun little cartoon story with Abbott and Costello. But of course, this is the Creeps, or Shudder nowadays. We can be a little more violent than normal, and overall, it is a fun story. After that, we get the story Window Chopping, a play on window shopping, and we see this nice happy family at the beach, but turns out they're not real, they're just mannequins, and this guy is a window set dresser trying to lure people into the store, but his boss is mad because the store on the other side of the street is doing way, way better than them, and it turns out they have a new display from a Space Wars movie that's out in theaters, which, if they're not selling toys, I don't really know. Like, if this is a clothing store, what kind of clothing are they selling? I'm guessing they must be selling toys or something. But he says, get the people in my store, come up with a better display, and the guy is super mad and is already starting to think about murdering his boss. He tries to go with a cowboy one next, and his boss hates it as well. Yeah, space versus cowboys. I mean, that was kind of the plot of the first Toy Story, right? But anyway, looking for inspiration, he will go into the local wax museum, which, of course, fun horror from there. And I don't want to spoil it, but I do like this idea, I really do like how Shudder and Carmilla really do pull from everything and ask, hey, what if there's a horror story based on X, Y, or Z? And I would have never thought store displays, maybe a haunted mannequin, but I never thought just what about the displays themselves, and crossing that with a similar motif in horror, the wax museum, it really does work as an interesting parallel. And after that, we're on to the last story already. Again, feels like I always say this, but can't believe we're at the end already. And we get the story, Alien Invasion. And we see all the soldiers there firing away at all these aliens and their nice old-timey spaceships. I always love the old-timey pie pan spaceships. Great to see them as well. But they say Earth is losing. Their technology is too advanced. They went after the capitals first, and we get this guy who's the lead soldier, General Bradley Hawk, and he's at the forefront of every major battle against these guys, but they always seem to be losing, and that's when he gets pulled aside and they say, "We have a meeting for you to go to. We have a plan to stop this war once and for all." And overall, this is a pretty fun story with, again, the sort of crazy ending that you would never suspect. But these are fun, really old school retro alien designs, shooting people and getting the skeletons, very Mars Attacks. And really, you can tell this was probably a ton of fun for the artist to draw these aliens and cool military stuff and the blam, pow, pow, pow. You know, a good classic story that does go into Shudder's specialty endings there, you know, and again, something you probably wouldn't see coming, so I did love that as well. Overall, another great issue number 10, already into the double digits. This magazine, as I've said quite a few times, this and Carmilla are both incredibly consistent magazines. You go in, you know what you're gonna get, some fun, retro-styled anthology horror comics, and yeah, they're always fun, so of course I can definitely recommend them. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you, you really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Creeps / Carmilla / Shudder playlist, where you can see my reviews for a lot of the past issues. I think I have all of Shudder and all the past Carmillas, except for the new one that just came out, reviewed in there. And I'm definitely going to get to, before this week's production cycle is over, going to get to that new Carmilla one. Can't wait to read that. But anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.